A big extension, a couple of Canadian clubs in hot water, and a dark horse team out west that needs paying attention to, all going to be broken down on the Saturday special of your daily source for fantasy hockey news, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, coming in red hot with all the Saturday bets and NHL coverage that you need. Thank you for joining us. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Happy to be here with y'all for a Saturday edition that should be bringing you everything that you need to get a leg up on the fantasy competition. Shout out to the everydayers holding us down and making us your first listen every single day, especially on Saturdays. We are here for you all the way until the cup gets lifted. So make sure you smash that 5-star review. Drop us a subscribe on YouTube and leave us some feedback. It means the world to both Steele and I, and it helps us give you what you need to get this loot. And Steele, we're going to get to bets. There is a juicy, I believe, 11-game betting board on the slate for Saturday. A lot to get to. Aiden Hill, the Vegas Golden Knights, kind of flying under the radar a little bit, but they deserve some attention, and we'll give them just that. Oilers, Leafs, which team should be more concerned? Because, Steele, you and I haven't spoken a ton about this, and this is clearly a topic that's near and dear to our heart, and it's not just the Leafs. And we're going to talk about the Kings. I think this team needs to deserve a lot more respect. Quinton Byfield on fire, Steele. There's fantasy. Implications abound. So, over to you, my friend. Aiden Hill, though. I got a couple of angles that I'd like to cover. We haven't spoken about the Golden Knights. Over to you. What are you seeing here, and what do you think of this contract extension?
Massive deal for Aiden Hill. 28-year-old secures $37.5 million over the next 6 years, an AAV of $6.25 million. And he's been a sleeping beauty over the last 3 years in Vegas and in fantasy hockey leagues. His average draft position this past year was around 140.2, which is in between the 13th and 14th round right there. So He's a mid to late draft pick in fantasy hockey drafts this past season. And like I said, he's been a sleeping beauty. Mm-hmm. The numbers this year might not jump off the page, a .906 save percentage, a 2.53 goals against average, but it's the win record. 24, 11, and 4 this season. He's got 4 shutouts. He's been top 10 the last 2 seasons in fantasy hockey leagues, comparing his preseason rank to where he actually is ranked for goaltenders. So top 10 in fantasy hockey leagues. He's been a great addition to this team. Obviously, over the last 3 seasons, a .915 save percentage in his first year. He just wins games right now, and that's why I'm saying he's a sleeping beauty. A lot of people don't want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. A lot of people don't want to talk about Aiden Hill being a great goaltender out there.
I don't know why.
He's just one of those guys that you draft him for your hockey team, and he just does his job. There's no complaints. There's nothing overly positive. There's nothing overly negative. He just goes out there and does his job. He's got a great blue line in front of him that protects him in front of the blue crease. So a great team in front of him is a good thing to have, obviously. And Aiden Hill, he's just getting the job done. So he gets the bag, deservingly so, after the last 3 seasons with the Vegas Golden Knights.
I kind of understand why there's somewhat of a lack of respect for this goaltender unless it's in dedicated fantasy hockey circles. Probably because he started his career with the Arizona Coyotes, then went to the Sharks, basically as a 50-50 split man or as a backup even, Steele, at times a third option, and comes in and honestly garners so much respect, especially after you put a cup in this guy's mantelpiece. And there's a couple of angles that I just need to bring up here. 11-4 with a .932 save percentage and 2 shutouts after being acquired in that playoff run for the Vegas Golden Knights. Sure, that kind of secured him this little bridge deal that was 2 years, $4.9 million. Now, though, this is a goaltender that was named to Team Canada. Number one, respect due for that. Jordan Binnington got it done, but if he even struggled for 1 or more games, Aiden Hill would have been the guy in there for Team Canada. Say what you will about the weakness. He deserves credit for that, and no one ever spoke about that. Since the Four Nations face-off, Steele, and this is what I kind of wanted to get at, He has a 941 save percentage in 5 appearances, and he has looked sensational since kind of getting perhaps fired up after not getting that look in the Four Nations face-off. This guy deserves so much credit. Fantasy value with this player connects directly to what you just said, and such a good balanced, big bruising blue line, all the B words that you want to throw out there. He has all of the ability to continue to rack up good numbers and wins. So Aiden Hill for me is definitely right in there in the category of the most underrated, valuable fantasy goaltenders. Shout out to the boys at Apples and Geno's, falls right into that realm of 0G goaltending draft strategy. The Vegas Golden Knights, right before I throw it back to you, 85 points, holding down that Pacific #1 spot quite comfortably. And while that team continues to rack up win steal, Aiden Hill's value is peaking. If you are somebody who's out there and you don't have him in there every single night, I got questions, but hopefully you've been riding him to a whole bunch of success.
Yeah, and later in this episode, we're going to be talking about the top team in the Western Conference. The LA Kings are one of them right now on a good 4-game win streak. But the Vegas Golden Knights, when we get to the actual playoffs, and I know how competitive it has been, we still don't know who's going to finish in the wild card spot with still 6 or 7 teams fighting in the Eastern Conference. But when we get to the actual playoffs, these Western matchups in the first, second, and Western Conference finals are going to be insane. In my opinion, going to be a lot more competitive than what we'll see in the Eastern Conference with some of these teams. Obviously, Columbus and Ottawa Senators being 2 teams that haven't made the playoffs over the last couple of years. The Vegas Golden Knights are legit. They've won the championship just a few seasons ago. They've got an incredible, maybe the best blue line in the National Hockey League. I got to show some love once again to Jack Eichel. Obviously I'm a little bit more involved with him when I've actually drafted him to my fantasy team and have him on my squad. But Jack Eichel deserves a lot of recognition for what he's doing this year. It's been one of the few seasons in the National Hockey League he's actually been healthy. He's only missed 1 game so far this season. He's got 79 points in 64 games. He's on pace for 100 points this season. And based on what I'm seeing from his play, his level of play right now, he's going to get there by the end of the regular season. 202 shots. He's a juggernaut on the power play as well. Rocket of a shot and pinpoint accuracy. So Jack Eichel for me, another guy who is still a top draft pick in fantasy hockey leagues, but doesn't get enough love and recognition to where he should be getting drafted. I think he deserves to be a lot higher.
He's definitely getting it from you, my friend, and deservedly so. He also, this season, sits, I believe, 8th in scoring in the league, in the NHL. Yes, he does, just ahead of Jesper Bratt. No one talking about Jesper Bratt as well, Steele, at 76 points. The Vegas Golden Knights, I don't know if you dropped the mention, they have a very good schedule down the stretch as well. Yes. That is going to play into Aiden Hill's fantasy value in a big way, continue to absolutely get the most out of a goaltender that has flown under the radar basically for the most of his career. Not anymore, Steele, getting that bag. We're going to talk about the Leafs, the Oilers, the LA Kings as a dark horse. Quinton Byfield's on a heater, and we're going to get to our 11-game 11-leg parlay Steele and 11 games on the NHL betting board. A great place to lay those wagers with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness, baby, is about to tip off. FanDuel gives you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets. When your first $5 wager hits, that's 200 bones to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderellas and even who cuts down the nets at the end. Steele, you and I got to be getting in on this, picking favorites, same game parlays. We love it all on FanDuel because it's fast, easy to use, and super secure. So visit FanDuel.com today to get in on college hoops all tournament long.
And welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod, making it your first listen every single day. Thank you so much for supporting the boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steele Roden on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review.
Please.
We got some mixed feelings right now with the Edmonton Oilers and Toronto Maple Leafs.
Go ahead.
You already know how I feel about the Edmonton Oilers after the Four Nations face-off, though. Sure. The concerns with Stuart Skinner. There may be some concerns as well in Toronto in the blue paint as of recently, the goaltending hasn't been spectacular like we've seen out of Stolarz and Joseph Woll. But two teams sliding right now. Actually, the Edmonton Oilers have slid down to third in their division. The LA Kings, we're going to talk about them. They jumped over them for second in the Pacific. The Toronto Maple Leafs as well. They're sliding out of that first spot in the Atlantic, 4 points back from 4 points back of the Florida Panthers right now for the top spot. They're only 2 points ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning and 6 points ahead of the Ottawa Senators, which they play later tonight on Saturday. So we're going to get to that big time bets, but we should be concerned about Edmonton and Toronto. What are you concerned about most?
If I had to pick a team that I think should be more concerned, a fan base more on edge, if you will, immediately I wanted to say the Toronto Maple Leafs because for obvious reasons. Let me get to the Leafs in a sec if you're okay. To me, it's the Edmonton Oilers, actually, because of the quality of the teams in the Central Division, the quality of what we've seen from the LA Kings, and we'll get to that in a sec. And you know that Vegas Golden Knights team is out for blood against this Edmonton Oilers squad. And maybe that's a cop-out because I kind of want to soothe over my pain as a jaded Leafs fan to say they're going to be okay. I think this is a very close 1A, 1B situation in terms of teams that have a real shot at making noise that are potentially shooting themselves in the foot with poor play. Should they both be in there? Of course. Should they both not even have to really worry about a wild card spot at the end of the day? I think so. But for me, the Edmonton Oilers' concern in the crease, and thank you so much for pointing out that Woll and Stolarz have also not been good over the last couple of weeks. To me, that's got to be the Edmonton Oilers. And I know Frederick's going to come back. I know they've making moves. They made moves, and they're waiting for it to settle in. Let me just get this out of the way. For me, I'd be more concerned as an Oilers fan. They have to turn it around quick. However, the Maple Leafs fall to 8-9-0 versus Eastern Conference team in the playoff position with a minus 10 goal differential. If they drop this one tonight against the Ottawa Senators, Steele, I'm not pulling out the panic button, and I want to turn it over to you for your take, but I need to see. I don't care if Austin Matthews is hurt. If he's playing, I need more. If he's hurt, sit him down. That's how I look at it, because 34 is far too good and too important. So if he's not making a difference, which clearly right now he's not, then sit him down and get him ready for round one, because I'm not here for this playing through the pain if you're not doing anything, Steele. So I'm a bit heated. I'm more worried about the Oilers, if I'm being honest, but the Leafs are right there on their heels because they're also dropping games to the teams that they're going to have to go through come April, the end of April.
Couldn't agree more with that statement right there. For me, I'm more concerned with the Edmonton Oilers. You already know how I feel about Stuart Skinner and how his play has affected the overall team success from the Four Nations face-off. For me, I'm looking a little bit deeper, and I had some concerns with their depth players offensively for the Edmonton Oilers. When you look at some of the losses and additions they had over the offseason and into the trade deadline, they lose Warren Fogle. They lose Dylan Holloway. They lose Philip Broberg. They bring in guys like Jeff Skinner, Victor Arvidsson, who we thought could have some success and haven't really contributed to the offensive group. And then when you look at Warren Fogle, who I'm going to talk about with the LA Kings, Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg, they're having the best seasons of their career with their new teams.
True that.
Right now. So I think the depth that the Edmonton Oilers lost compared to what they added over the offseason over the last year has not been to the same caliber of play. Again, you have to rely heavily on Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. You have to rely heavily on Zach Hyman to go to the front of the net and do his job, which he hasn't been doing to the same caliber, which we saw last year. Stuart Skinner's still a question mark. So I'm more concerned with the Oilers over the Leafs. However, like you just said, if Austin Matthews is banged up, sit him down. You're seeing that with the Florida Panthers right now, obviously with Matthew Tkachuk. He's not playing until the playoffs come around. And a few players as well who are dealing with injuries from the Four Nations face-off. Sit him down. There's no need for it. You're going to be in the playoffs. Yeah, obviously battling for home ice advantage for the entire postseason, but it's not going to help if your best player, best forward and goal scorer is still having a nagging injury going into the playoffs. Number two, the goaltending has not been great, like you said as well. Over the last 3 games, over the last 3 to 5 games. Actually, both goaltenders have been allowing 3+ goals, which has not happened at all until this point for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you look at the schedule they had. They let 5 goals allowed against the Pittsburgh Penguins, a comeback loss to the San Jose Sharks, 5-2 loss to Vegas, 7-4 loss, 4-3 win. They're allowing too many goals right now. For me, with Stolarz, I don't think he's been, I still think Stolarz is playing great. I haven't seen any goals that he would like back compared to what I've seen with Joseph Woll. There's been a few times over the last 2 weeks where Joseph Woll has let in a muffin. He's let in a very sneaky goal that probably shouldn't have gotten past him. Regardless of that, they're still finding ways to win games. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10. They have had a tough schedule. 7 of the last games have been on the road, so they were on the road for a long time. But still some concerning play right now. Like you said, they're losing games to teams they're going to have to play against in the playoffs.
Be cautious with what you're doing with your fantasy pieces from both teams. Let me wrap it with this deal before we get to the Kings, because, what we're seeing on the ice now is concerning from both these teams. It's just kind of bizarre how eerily similar they are in their numbers. Take this in. Penalty kill proficiency, which actually been an issue for both teams. Leafs, 78.4. Edmonton Oilers, 76. Power play proficiency, Steele, very eerily similar as well. The Edmonton Oilers at 26%, Toronto Maple Leafs sitting at 24%. And then you look at the record, you look at the goals for, and I swear I'm done with the numbers. Toronto Maple Leafs goals for, 207 goals for. The Edmonton Oilers sitting with 205 goals for. These teams are eerily similar in terms of numbers. They're both going to have to turn it around in a big way. And before they do, you as a fantasy GM better be extra cautious and careful with how much you're relying on both of these lineups, aside from the top few studs, your peripheral ads. Be very wary, be very careful, especially, I would say right now, in the blue paint, LA Kings. Let's talk about it. Before we get to bets, I'm ready to fire with our picks, our locks of the night. I think this is a beautiful segue. And another reason why I think the issue is probably a little bit more concerning for Edmonton Oilers fans and the franchise in general, Steele. The LA Kings have now passed them. They have a game in hand as well, and they're looking real good. 4 straight W's, a very good home team. What's your take on the Kings? Byfield's on a heater. Get yourself a piece. That's the main fantasy take right there. You and I haven't spoken about the Kings a lot. What do you like about this Kings club? Because for me, it's clear. Hans Kopitar. Anyway, what are you seeing? What are you liking? I think this Kings team has dark horse written all over it, especially with Drew Doughty back in the lineup.
Dark horse indeed, and this lineup runs deep. You know how both of us feel on that third line of Philip Deneau, Trevor Moore, Warren Foegele, who I want to talk about in a short second. But number one, I know you, Flip, you might have to switch your tone on Darcy Kemper and buy into what he's done this season. The record is speaking for itself right now. 21, 8, and 7, 3 shutouts on the season, a .916 save percentage with a 2.23 goals against average. He does have a really solid group on the blue line in front of him. Gavrikov, Doughty back, obviously, too. Edmondson, Anderson, Spence, Clark. This blue line is really solid in front of him. The LA Kings score goals up front, which I know you want to talk about. Quinton Byfield. So that's number one. Darcy Kemper is legit. Fresh start in LA compared to Washington. It's worked out for both those guys in that trade. And Darcy Kemper has been one of the better goaltenders in the National Hockey League and Fantasy Hockey Leagues this season. That's number one. Number two, again, the depth scoring that they're getting from Warren Foegele, Philip Deneau, Alex Laferriere this season. I know they've slowed down a little bit, but Warren Foegele is top 5 in points on the LA Kings right now. 37 points in 64 games, 19 goals on the season, which he's 1 away from his career high last year with the Edmonton Oilers, 4 points away from his career high last year as well. He's just playing really solid hockey. He's filling out the peripherals, blocking shots, putting his body on the line, physical, shooting the puck a lot when he has those opportunities. So some great offensive play from him. And then when you get to that top line, Adrian Kempe, Anze Kopitar, guys who are looked over, who are not respected enough in fantasy hockey leagues, and guys who are just absolutely producing on all cylinders right now.
Shout out to a good Newmarket, Ontario boy in Quinton Byfield. I just have to, 5 goals, 5 assists in his last 10 games, Steele. Ice time up to over 19 minutes per night. That is a huge indicator for anyone who knows what's good about hockey. Don't trust us, trust the coach. Throwing him out there at a career high of almost 20 minutes per night over the last 10 games, Steele. Quinton Byfield has been a slow development. He's only 22 years old. Get a piece of this team right now, Steele. I'll say it. Quinton Byfield is right there at the top. Balanced forward group. Thank you for calling me out a little bit on Darcy Kemper, a Stanley Cup champion, by the way. This LA Kings club, maybe it's because we're East Coast and they're West Coast, they just deserve some love. They're playing great hockey. They're making noise in that division. They're hungry. They want to silence some of that criticism of getting dusted in the postseason over the last couple of seasons. So 4-game heater, pay attention to it. There's lots of fantasy value to be had. You pointed out the third line. Great value there for a team that's also scoring goals. So that's all that needs to be said there. Let's talk about bets next.
And that's exactly where we're going to. We're going to be heating up with the big time bets over the weekend, Saturday night. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging, so you can connect with candidates faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. I've been in that spot where you need the right hire. Like yesterday, the pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right person right now. Now you can speed up the hiring process with $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Hit that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip and I appreciate all that love and support. 11 games on the schedule for Saturday. First game starting at 12:30 between the Buffalo Sabres and the Vegas Golden Knights. Where you looking first? How you feeling about this board?
I think there's some juicy tilts here, Steele. Obviously, we already alluded to it. Ottawa, Toronto, so much on the line.
Yeah.
But I'm going to look at this New York Rangers club, and I know it was beating Minnesota 3-2, and I know previously they dropped 4 straight, and one of those included a 7-3 ugly loss to Columbus. But I'm going to ride the Rangers here a little bit. Sue me. They're far better than what they've performed. And the Columbus Blue Jackets starting to show a little chink in that armor. 1 win over their last 5 games. That one coming against the Rangers. The Rangers, though, over their last 10, 7-3-0. I think you're going to get a lot of value here. I liked what I saw in that big 3-2 win against Minnie the other night. Hit me with the Rangers on the money line. A bit of a gutsy gut pick on the road, especially for a team that just got pumped by Columbus. But hit me with the Rangers. I think Mika Zibanejad is playing great. I really do think this team is going to still contend for a wild card spot. So hit me with the Rangers on the money line. I'm going with my gut on this one.
I like the Rangers on the money line. I mean, to me, this is a very good game. I think you're getting good odds for both teams right now, and even at plus 1.2, the Columbus Blue Jackets at home is a good bet to make. But the Rangers, I agree with everything you just said there on them. So I like that pick too. My first pick, I'm going with the Penguins on the money line at plus 125 at home against the New Jersey Devils. The Penguins are on a 3-game win streak. The Devils are on a 3-game win streak as well. Obviously, they've lost Dougie Hamilton. They don't have Jack Hughes. And the Penguins, they actually brought up Tristan Jarry again, and he's been playing great for them. So that could be another addition to your fantasy hockey team, maybe taking a look at Tristan Jarry's value over the next couple of weeks. But I like the Penguins on the money line right here. You're getting some good play from Erik Karlsson, some really good offensive production from Sidney Crosby, of course.
Oh, you don't say.
You don't say. Anytime assist. That might be a player prop from you.
You might be liking my lock of the night a little bit then, Steve.
All right, then we're going to get into it. Penguins on the money line is my first pick. Second pick, I'm going with the Toronto Maple Leafs on the money line at home as well, minus 162. This is just a gut feeling for me. I know the Leafs have struggled against the Senators over the last few games, but this needs to be a momentum killer for Ottawa. The Leafs need to shut them down. They need to stop this gap that the Senators are closing in on for the third and second position in the Atlantic Division. Again, if Austin Matthews isn't fully healthy, sit him down and let Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Matthew Nye step up and fill in those shoes offensively, which they are more than capable of doing. To me, this is a gut feeling. They need to shut down the Senators' momentum right now as they're on a 5-game win streak and kind of slow them down a little bit.
Very excited for that, Tilt. I like that you're backing them. Let me then throw out my second pick. Mitch Marner has been a machine. Mitch Marner, I have no idea how this situation shakes out. Mitchie has been a revelation for this team. 59 assists this season in 64 games, and that's exactly what I'm going to tonight against Ottawa in his career steal. Where is it? Right here. 37 career regular season games, 40 points for Mitch, 27 apples. Hit me with Mitch Marner. Anytime assist, he's going to need to continue to be huge if this team does want to consider themselves as Atlantic Division champions. Lock of the night. I love that you're backing Pittsburgh here. A lot going off for this New Jersey team, and not in a good way. Sidney Crosby, anytime assist, lock of the night. My tab is failing me so hard right now, Steele, but I did have his career numbers against the New Jersey Devils here. I'm back. Thanks a lot for dial-up internet. Devils, in his career, 87 games played, 94 career regular season points, including 54 assists. Sid, it's been a while. Anytime assist. He has been on a heater, Steele. That's what I want to wrap this up with. Over his last 5 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, once again creeping up to the 90-point plateau, and I know he's only at 72. My goodness me, this is impressive stuff from Sid once again. Shame on the Penguins organization, but good for us bettors out there as we continue to cash in on Sid anytime assist.
Shame on Kyle Dubas. He has absolutely pulled apart this team, and it is not looking good for them. No. However, they're still in this fight, even though they're one of the bottom teams in the Eastern Conference. My third and final pick for Saturday, I'm taking the Kings on the puck line against the Nashville Predators for the brand, plus 125 on the puck line at home for the LA Kings. They're by far the best home team this season. The Nashville Predators have the worst road record on the season at 8. Let me just pull this up right here. Nashville Predators' worst road record, 8-20-4. The LA Kings are 22-3-4 at home. Absolutely firing. 4-game win streak. They extended to 5. My lock of the night is the Leafs on the money line.
Juicy takes. Can't wait for the action tonight. Good luck to everybody out there. My goodness, we are in store for a good night of hockey.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen. For your second listen, please check out the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From both Flip and I, we wish you good luck with your weekly matchups. The playoffs are right around the corner. Good luck with those big-time bets, and we shall see you back here again on Monday.
Go Leafs, go.